Moi, it's the first time in this project that I find myself in this situation. I know exactly where I'm going in this fourth chapter of the series of documentaries called Suomelle, but I don't know how to start it. And I don't even know if the title that I've chosen for it, To the World, is the most adequate. The original plan for this new episode was to present you some mysterious structures and very interesting sagas that are part of the ancient history of Finland and neighboring areas. But due to the fact that I keep receiving more and more hints about those places and the need of deeper investigation concerning the knowledge and events contained in those sagas, life has guided me to give priority to what I personally think will be the most controversial video. Due to the lack of credibility of the historical events presented to us as the only truth about our recent past, I feel that I'm in a hurry to find out the answers to the various questions and issues that I will present you in this documentary. I really need to understand what is going on in this world. Please help me to put together some of the pieces of this puzzle called reality. In the last few centuries, this planet has gone through some very enormous and foggy changes. Something incredible has modified the environment worldwide in many different ways. And in this video, I will make a list of these strange events that have completely and radically transformed the face of this earth. This world is my home, and all of you are my family. That's why I ask all of you to help me to find the answers. Having so much trouble finding the way to start, I will actually mix up all of the cards on the table, which I hope will not lead us to confusion, and I will pick up the last card. I will start from the end. On the screen at this moment, you can appreciate some photograph that I personally took a few months ago. The building on the left side of the images is obviously not thousands of years old. I don't know the exact date of it, but for what I could find out, it belongs to the 19th century. To me, what we are seeing is really incredible. Some construction work is clearly going on the road next to it. And as you can see, there's a window or another floor buried under it. For those who are familiar with this mind-blowing enigma, I will immediately say that no, this is not Siberia or Crimea, because as I will present you in a few minutes, this phenomenon that I will call buried cities enigma is pretty well known among the inhabitants of those areas, having literally entire cities buried with a few meters of earth or clay in that particular areas of the world. The building shown on the screen is located in the center of the beautiful city of Reykjavik, capital of the country of Iceland. And we will talk a bit about this peculiar name given to this island located in the North Atlantic Ocean in the second part of this video, because there are a lot of foggy questions that I need to make become more transparent about this really magnificent land as we continue going through this presentation. So let's try to come out with some logical conclusion for this enigma. First theory. People were not sweeping the streets of the city for a couple of hundred years, and this is the result. Few meters of dirt have accumulated throughout the capital, covering the entire first floor of the oldest buildings. No comment are needed. Second theory, far more logical. Iceland is a highly volcanic land, and in consequence there has been many eruptions in the last couple of hundred years, and the ashes originated from those volcanic eruptions have covered the city, burying it under a few meters of ash. Very good theory. Mystery solved. Really, on the screen at this moment, you can appreciate a picture of the road that goes from Reykjavik to Keflavik and the area of the international airport. And as you can see, the lava that created this otherworldly paysage is clearly visible, and there are no signs of meters of ashes covering the land. By the way, this lava formation in Canary Island, we call it Malpais, and we can appreciate the same scenario also going direction north toward the pretty city of Akureyri. There are no signs of meter of ash covering the Malpais that create this amazing landscape. Conclusion. It's a phenomenon restricted to the old area of the center of the city. On the screen at this moment, you can see some images of those Siberian buried cities that I was talking about earlier. And this one is, for example, from Crimea. By the way, at the bottom of this video, in the description, I have posted some links to videos concerning this topic. To me, it is just unreal. What happened to this planet a few hundred years ago to make rise the ground level so many meters? Look like that those cities were purposely buried. But how? Why? By who? What makes this enigma even more incredible is that it is a phenomenon that concerns only the cities, not the surrounding areas. When I was living in Vermont, New England, a few months ago, I visited the really nice city of Burlington, and I could observe the same situation. In the center of the old town, on the left side, if from the area of the university we walk toward the lake. I'm really sorry, but I didn't have the camera with me that day to show you the exact location. There's an old big building belonging, if I'm not mistaken, to the first half of the 1800s. I cannot remember the exact date, and I was shocked to discover that it's a worldwide phenomenon. The base of that specific building is in white marble, a type of stone that is found in enormous quantity in that area of United States. And walking around the building, I could clearly see that the lowest part, actually an entire floor, was continuing many meters below ground level. I was estimating around 3 meters, which is really a lot. I was very surprised. And also in that case, I could prove myself that it is a phenomenon regarding only the city, because I've been visiting some ancient structure, very baffling by the way, like the one called Calendar 1 in Woodstock, Vermont, that was clearly much older than the building in Burlington, but they were not buried by meter of earth or clay, and they were situated in the forest around. But I will continue giving you proof of this very strange worldwide enigma. The next few pictures that I personally took are from my favorite city in the world, the insanely gorgeous city of Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I hope not to offend anyone with this personal opinion about Montreal, because I really love this world and all of the thousands of cities in it. But I put at the top Montreal because of the amazing friend, actually they are more than a family for me, that I have in that particular island in the Saint Laurent River. And also in this case, we can observe the same situation. The old buildings and walls throughout the city continue deeply under the current street level. In these particular pictures, we can see the architecturally pretty Église Saint-Enfant Jésus du Mille, situated on the corner of Boulevard Saint-Laurent and Saint-Joseph. The windows and doors all around the building are lower than the street level around it. And there are other questions that I have about this particular structure. But I will not talk yet about Montreal, because I will dedicate an entire video to this specific area of the world, right after the end of this series of documentary called Suomelle, that is dedicated to the areas of Finland and Scandinavia. And I will talk about the strange similarity of building columns and churches throughout the planet, along with other questions about the enormous quantity of megaliths that are scattered around a bit everywhere throughout the city and neighboring areas. But let's remain in America for a few more minutes. Few years ago, actually largely more than a decade ago, I was obsessed with the beauty of Mexico and Central America, or Mesoamerica. I have spent about 1 year traveling those areas, mostly to study the various ancient civilizations, which is my passion, that have lived and built their astonishing and baffling cities in those areas of America. And I could observe the same phenomenon, even if in those times I wasn't familiar yet with this strange buried city enigma. I used to have very beautiful Mexican friends in the Yucatan Peninsula. I'm a very lucky person, so if you keep hearing me talking about the thousands of brothers and sisters that I have all over the world, it's just because I love everybody, and I repeat that I'm just very fortunate to always be in the right place at the right time and meet the right and most pure-hearted people. And in that case, due to a very powerful storm that hit the peninsula, we have to spend few days all together in a house, making us becoming almost a family. Well, these guys were very brave people, and we have been in many very remote areas of the jungle in search of unclean yet from the government pyramids and structures, along with the famous cenotes, an extant cave system in our day flooded, interconnected with themselves and some of the ancient structures. Well, the various pyramid and structures were buried under few meters of earth or clay, and we could only see some remains sticking out from the ground that has been excavated by local people in search of artifacts to sell to the tourists. But not only in the area of the Mayas empire this phenomenon is present. Also in the Olmec lands of Villahermosa and Veracruz, it is possible to appreciate the same situation. And also the more known to the public Aztec pyramidal complex of Teotihuacan, few kilometers away from the DF, or so-called Mexico City, was dug out from meters of earth or clay that was covering the entire structures. Something very incredible and of catastrophic proportion happened to this planet a few centuries ago. And this video is dedicated to try to find an answer to all of these issues. But I give you more proof. 7 years ago, I was living in British Columbia, Canada, precisely on the island of Salt Spring. About the beauty of the nature of those areas, no comment are needed. And I had the pleasure to hug some sequoias, the largest trees on Earth. And even if in that particular island most of them have been cut down, still I could appreciate the sizes of those literally fairy tale forests. A year later, I started to hang in Finland and Scandinavia. And being still extasiated from the forests of BC, I started asking the people where the oldest and largest trees are located in this area of the north of Europe. The answers that I received were very strange. The trees in Finland don't grow so much due to the freezing climate, or simply they don't live that long. Really? I will take as an example the Larix decidua and the Larix sibirica. As we can see on the screen, they actually grow to monstrous sizes, reaching almost 50 meters, but they get to these sizes only in some islands and not throughout the country. And surprise, the oldest ones are from the first half of the 1800s. But those pieces of trees can live many centuries. But the answer is very simple. Let's blame humans. They have been cut down. Fine. In Finland it makes sense because humans have no respect for the nature, so no old trees. But in the comment posted by our friend Peace on Earth, we could read that also she was asking why we lack old trees from Finland throughout the entire Russia and Siberia. And the New Earth channel in many videos has presented the same exact question. How many people are needed to cut down the forest that cover those gigantic areas of the world? And surprise, the Siberian forests are more or less 200 years old. How many people were living in those areas before those times, capable of cutting down all of those trees? But in Siberia, we have another reason given to us. Fire. Those forests, for some reason, have burned 200 years ago, more or less. Really. I think that if those enormous lands were burning for any reason, a meteorite explode or very dry seasons, 2 centuries ago, we would have noticed it. There would be countless accounts of those fires, along with account of a gigantic cloud of smoke throughout the north hemisphere of the planet. But that's not the case. So again, what happened to this planet that we cannot remember? Something incredible has changed the face of the Earth globally, just a few hundred years ago. By the way, I'm not that sure that the word globally is the most adequate, but we will touch this subject in the future. For the moment, let's continue looking for proof of a catastrophic event or many events in our recent past. Before provisory change subject and move our research for answer to the next topic, I will show you some pictures of the old area of Tallinn, capital of Estonia, that I forgot to include earlier. I'm sorry if I keep jumping up and down through the various presentations with confusion, but I have papers, pictures and maps everywhere, so I will try to put them in the video where I can. In the first photograph, I'm sorry that it's not very clear, the light was not that good. We can see a large window clearly much lower than the ground level, and the arches that are part of the protective city walls are very low and they have been closed from one side. But I have a personal feeling that those were the entrances to the city in old times. And in our days, to walk from one side to the other of the fortified wall, they had to break down entire section of the structure. I was there just a couple of months ago because I really love Tallinn and Estonia in general. The people are really special over there, as in the other Baltic countries, Latvia and Lithuania. I've been hanging around that area dozens of times. It's really spectacular, and due to the fact that I have hundreds of views in my channel from Estonia, I will ask the listener to send me some picture of the buried buildings of Tallinn that are just everywhere. But we will come back to this buried city's enigma later on in this video. For the moment, let's move our research for answer to the area of the North Atlantic Ocean, Scandinavia and Finland. On the screen at this moment, you can see a map of those areas in our days from a satellite image found in Google Map. And here you can see a map of Finland and Scandinavia in 1811. The next one belonged to the end of the 17th century, and this one is from 1646. So far, so good. But if we go even more back in time, we have this geographical work from the end of the 16th century. So what about this map? This is a 1595 map made by the cartographer Gerard Mercator. The difference in the shape of the land is massive. But let's, for fun, jump few decades more back in time. And what is this? This cartographical work is staggering. This map is courtesy of a viewer, which I would like to call friend, known as Peace on Earth. It was posted as a link in the comment of a video that I have published a few weeks ago, and later deleted because I never liked it, and there was a mistake in the date of a map. I hope that this friend will post again those beautiful comments, links and knowledge that I have lost. As we can read on the screen, this map is called Carta Marina, or Marine Map in English. The Carta Marina was created by a Swedish ecclesiastic called Olaus Magnus and was published in 1539. This is the earliest map of the Nordic countries that give us detail and place names. Examining it with a bit of logic, many questions rise along. How is it possible that the Kola Peninsula of Russia is attached to the Russian mainland? How is it possible that they could cross from Finland to Sweden the Gulf of Bothnia in the area of today's city of Vasa? How could they cross by horses the Gulf of Finland? And why the southwest of Finland is depicted so close to the Ahvenanmaa island? The entire lands of Scandia, in our days Norway and Sweden, are much larger. And in the area of the Atlantic Ocean, there are many islands that in our days are no longer there. By the way, in the southwest of Finland, there are depicted some very strange structures. They look like some very tall buildings. And we will find the same peculiar construction also in other places and maps that I will show you later in this video. But what interests me the most about this work is the country of Iceland. Where are the glaciers? But we will examine in detail Iceland in the second part of this video. For the moment, let's go investigate another very baffling geographical work. The next cartographer doesn't need to be present for those who have watched the previous episode of this series of documentaries called Staged Centuries. which, by the way, is having an enormous and unexpected success. I don't know how to say thank you to all of you, because I have used his works in few occasions, and I have proved that his maps are considered genuine and authentic from all of the historians. His name was Abraham Ortelius, and as we can read on the screen, the map that I will present you is a 1573 map of Scandinavia that is included in the Theatrum Orbis Terrarum, or Theatre of the World. If we examine this work again with a bit of logic, more questions about those areas of the world come along. What is that enormous land in the area of our day's North Pole? And also this question will become part of one of the topics that I will present you later in this video. Second of all, what is that island under the country of Iceland? And what are all of those islands all over the Atlantic Ocean in any case? But before starting to examining those so-called phantom lands and islands, or try to come out with some logical theory about their existence, I will let you enjoy some geographical works from some very respected cartographer depicting those areas in the exact same way during the 16th and beginning of the 17th centuries. I will start examining those areas of the Atlantic Ocean, giving priority, actually, to all of those small phantom islands, due to the fact that in the last 13 years or so, Azores, Madeira, and in particular Canary Island, or Canarias, are what I chose to call home. Those are the lands where I belong, and in consequence I can be graduated on the history, geography and environment of those surrealistically amazing archipelagos. Therefore, I'm very interested to find out about all of those islands in the Atlantic Ocean that are depicted, as I just showed you, from all of the cartographers of those time, and in our days are no longer there. Let's start with logic. Can island suddenly disappear? Is it possible that landmass sink?